Welcome back to Up Front. Voters will go to the polls Tuesday to elect a new state Supreme Court justice in a race that's drawing national attention. Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Rebecca Dallett and Sauk County District Court Judge Michael Skrenak are running for an open seat and a 10-year term on the court. The nonpartisan race is being seen nationally as another test of Democratic voter enthusiasm and a possible indicator of a so-called blue wave in November. We're looking at the home stretch of the race with Republican communications consultant Brian Fraley of Edge Messaging and Democratic campaign consultant Tanya Bjork, who worked on both the Obama and Clinton campaigns as well as Mary Burke's campaign for governor. Thanks to the two of you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So you both have experience with political campaigns. You've been involved in a number of them. And so I want to get your perspective as we head into the final few days of this race. Tanya, I'll begin with you. How does this race feel to you right now?
Well, it does feel different, particularly if you sit in my shoes and being sort of on the progressive side or the Democratic side. I mean, this is a race that I think voters particularly care about experience, and there's a really clear choice here. And sometimes in these races there isn't a clear of a choice on some of the issues that voters really care about. So you've got Judge Dallett, who's been in the courtroom for 20 plus years, both as a prosecutor and as a judge. And then you've got, on the other hand, her opponent, who has been practicing law for, I think, only about 10 years or so, graduated from law school, I think, in 2006. So experience is a really big deal to voters here on this race. And so that's one of the ways that it feels different. But it also feels different because I just think that, progressives and Democrats are much more motivated in this spring election, really, than we ever have been.
Brian Fraley, how does it feel from your vantage point?
Yeah, I will grant you that there does seem to be an enthusiasm difference, and a lot of conservatives maybe have taken this race for granted and have been slow to wake up, in part because the campaigns were slow to mature, slower than usual. I think there's a lot of people who are going to be watching this saying, oh, there's an election in a couple of days. Yes, the ads have been running, but those ads become less and less effective as time goes on, to be honest with you. I think neither candidate did a great job of defining themselves early. And when conservatives don't do that, they leave the playing field open for someone to take advantage of it. And it's clear that Dallett is hoping that this is part of the Trump anxiety, Democratic wave election. She said that in San Francisco when she was talking to big donors out there saying, we want your values. Pennsylvania happened. We're next on the list. She's trying to make this to be about a wave. And the question comes down to is, will conservatives say, not only is Skrenak qualified for this, but we have to get our act together and make sure that he gets elected.
You also have a pretty clear contrast here with the way the two campaigns are being run or portraying themselves anyways, or their message. You've got, Judge Dallett, who is talking a lot about sort of equality and justice for all equally under the law. And then you've got her opponent, who really is running a closer campaign to the Republican Party than I've seen in the past, really. And, the NRA has been more involved, I feel like, in this race than has been in past Supreme Court elections. In fact, today I think I just read that they dumped in another $50,000 into his campaign. And the NRA is not that popular of a brand right now, particularly with the enthusiasm of sort of progressive voters that we normally don't see right now.
Yeah, I think it will come down to the established turnkey get out the vote operation that Republicans have built up over the last 10 years. Is that enough to get a horse race neck and neck campaign over the final hurdle or not? And we'll find out in just a couple days.
Let me ask each of you to respond to this notion that this is a race that's being watched all around the country. First of all, is that true? And secondly, should it be watched? Is it an indicator of something else bigger going on?
It will be viewed as being watched across the country if Dallett wins. The progressives and the Democrats will say, hey, this is another feather in our cap. This is Trump having an effect on elections all across the country. If Skrenak wins, no one will talk about that. No one will say anything about that. It won't be the proxy war. It will be, conservative jurists held this seat before, they hold it again. That's the way it is. Now, should it be looked at? I guess it depends on where the numbers crunch out. And if we see an erosion, for example, with white suburban independent women, where we've seen that up in the up in the 10th, and we've seen that in some other. So if it continues trends like that, maybe you could draw from that. But again, you won't be able to analyze that data until it actually comes in.
I agree, and I think you mentioned women, and particularly suburban women, and I think women are paying more attention to this time period in politics and in campaigns, and I think particularly to this race. I mean, again, going back to there is a really stark contrast between these two candidates on issues that women care about. You know, as you said, as I said earlier, she's running a campaign on sort of equality and justice for all or under the law. And this is a guy who literally has been arrested for blocking women's access to healthcare clinics. So
20 plus years ago. Now, I think
Yeah.
if you look at the campaigns, the issues themselves, they're the same as every single judicial race that has been run in Wisconsin the last 30 years. You have the conservative constitutionalist who says that the Wisconsin and U.S. constitutions take precedent, and I'm not here to interpret legislative intent. I'm here to interpret the fidelity of the Constitution. And then you have the liberal who says, well, the Constitution needs to evolve and we need to keep up with the times and the political movements. That dichotomy has always existed, and I think that's the same.
Let me ask one final question here, and this is about well, voters will go to the polls on Tuesday night and decide whether or not they're going to eliminate the office of treasurer, which was part of the Wisconsin Constitution back in 1848. They put that office in there. Is that an election that matters? Does the office of treasurer still matter?
I think it's really hard to call. This one is a hard one to call because it is a very low information campaign, meaning that, you know, there's not a lot of information out there about what this means. But at a time when I think most voters would be sort of more interested in sort of having more financial oversight over what could be an office that has financial oversight over government finances, I think it's going to be really hard to get voters to yes on this one to actually eliminate this office, because it could actually be something that voters would care about if it were done in a way that made more
Yes,
sense.
and if the state treasurer was 2 slices of bread and some meat, it would be a sandwich. The fact is, it's not the fiscal watchdog. It's an obsolete thing. I think that the voters are going to reform the Constitution and eliminate that position.
We're going to have to wrap things up there. Brian Fraley, Tanya Bjork, thanks very much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Special elections for
Thank you.
2 state legislative seats now set for June. I'll be asking a top Democrat whether they can capture the formerly Republican-held seats. That's next on Upfront.